Alrighty, so this is Madeline. I'm doing my case history, or no, my case presentation on a typical patient at the VA hospital. Um, so here we go. Mr. Sweet Oldman is an 80-year-old veteran who presented for a hearing evaluation. He was not accompanied by a significant other or caregiver. Going through case history, talking about decreased hearing, he reports gradual and progressive decrease in hearing bilaterally. He mentioned that he believes his right ear is worse than his left. He is positive for noise exposure. He uses power tools at home without hearing protection, and we know that he was in the Air Force for 8 years as an aircraft technician. He was exposed to artillery and aircraft noise. He's a left-handed shooter, and he does not have combat exposure. He has long-standing periodic bilateral tinnitus, and he rated it a 1 out of 5 bothersome. This is a subjective measure that we give them on the intake form for them to tell us about their tinnitus a little bit, and 1 out of 5 is very slight. For vertigo, he reported that he has unsteadiness with walking and has been having this for a long time, but he attributes this to his right big toe being amputated and neuropathy in both of his feet. He denied ear pain and pressure and denied head trauma, and he has used hearing aids in the past that were issued from the VA. So this is his test from that date in August. He has bilateral sensorineural hearing loss and poor word recognition, normal temps, and talking about treatment and everything. Just with the VA, veterans can have access to audiology services through Service Connection, which are compensation and pension exams, where they really go into detail about their noise exposure in the military and outside of the military and things like that, or through their private insurance if they have that. Veterans are eligible for new hearing aids every 5 years, and replacement of the hearing aids can be sooner in certain cases, like if they lose the hearing aids, we can work with them on that. So for Mr. Sweet Oldman, he became eligible for new hearing aids this year, and he was issued bilateral Phonak Audeo P90 rechargeable with telecoil receiver in the canal hearing aids with slim tips. At the fitting appointment, gain and compression characteristics were set for best match to NAL and L2 targets using realer measures, speech mapping with 65 dB SPL input, and then softer speech and louder speech and MPO inputs were reviewed for audibility and comfort. Speech targets were met at 250 through 3000 hertz bilaterally. We connected the devices to his cell phone and talked about streaming features with music and videos and telephone calls, which he was super excited about. Prognosis for this veteran is excellent. He expressed high motivation and is a previous successful user. And we talked about the importance of hearing conservation whenever he's working with those power tools. And he expressed understanding. So there we go. Effects of treatment, we know that he's a successful user, but just comparing his HHIES scores, back in 2019, he scored a 25, and in August of 2021, he scored a 17. This is just a screening measure, the HHIE screening version, so not big differences there, but again, that's a subjective thing. Just talking about differences from his different audios here. Since 2009 to 2019 to 2021, we saw decreases at certain frequencies between ears, but nothing very worrisome. He didn't report any otologic symptoms or anything like that, or other big case history issues. His word recognition was stable. And then just his current condition, he has bilateral, moderate, profound sensorineural hearing loss with poor speech discrimination. But he knows, that the hearing aids give him access to sounds in his environment at the very least, and give him access to speech in the best case. I thought this was a good case, just something that we see every day at the VA. All testing decisions are made on veterans' abilities and their history. Treatment is always based off of veterans' needs and what is available through VA contracts with manufacturers, as well as previous hearing aid use and success. With this veteran, he's aware of his hearing loss and open to treating his hearing loss with hearing aids. He has been for a while now. He was excited to talk about new technology and what's going on in his life and communication situations. It helps us know, what to incorporate for him and what's appropriate for him. And so for this case, especially, we talked a lot about realistic expectations of hearing aids. His word discrimination is poor. So with veterans with poor discrimination, they just, need to realize that hearing aids are going to give you that access to sound, but then what your brain does with it at that point is going to be, a different story for each person. Really emphasizing good communication strategies is going to be important here. And then just a blurb about how things work at the VA. It's really important to implement thorough documentation practices, as it's not guaranteed that you're going to be the provider that will see the patient each time. The good thing is about that, for the veteran, they can get quicker care because they're not waiting on you to be available. They can go see anyone as soon as they're available. But a downside of this is that if the provider who saw your patient before you did, if they didn't document their encounters well, you might miss out on little things that can make a big difference when caring for them. So just, of course, make treatment very thorough, but make sure your notes are just as thorough. So good continuity of care is possible.